It's just a small plastic brick. Lightweight, simple, unchanged since 1958. And yet, it has built entire universes.
Lego constructions truly take us back to childhood, but they stay with us throughout our entire lives.
From bedrooms to boardrooms, from playgrounds to Hollywood, Lego has shaped generations.
When I design something from scratch, I start with an idea that occurs to me at any time of day. I try to build it with Lego and see what I come up with.
In a global toy market worth more than $120 billion, Lego stands alone, a single company controlling nearly 1 in every $10 spent on toys worldwide.
Lego holds a leading position worldwide, recognized above all for its playability.
What if the most beloved toy in the world almost didn't exist? Discover the incredible journey of a small, struggling carpentry shop that dared to dream bigger than anyone thought possible. This is the untold story of the visionary who built Lego, transforming simple wooden bricks into a multi-billion-dollar empire and forever changing how we play. But none of this began with billion-dollar charts or cinematic universes. It began with a carpenter with a vision. In a tiny Danish village, one man had a dream, building toys out of scraps of wood. Ole Kirk Christiansen was born in 1891 in Western Denmark, a place defined by silence, soil, and hard work. He grew up poor, like most children in the Jutland countryside, but he learned the value of craftsmanship early. When you made something, it had to last. He apprenticed as a carpenter. It was not a really glamorous work, but meticulous, honest, a craft that matched Ole's character and manners. Ole traveled through Denmark, Germany, and Norway. Everywhere he went, he left a reputation: precise, patient, relentless. In 1916, Ole returned home and bought a workshop in a place that barely existed on the map: Billund. No shops, no train station, just a handful of families trying to survive the Danish winds.
Don't worry, I'm fine.
But 8 years later, disaster struck.
Oh no.
In 1924, a fire tore through his workshop.
Oh God, no, please, no. Oh my God.
Everything burned. Tools, wood, orders, and a lifetime of savings. All gone. But Ole didn't quit. He rebuilt. And rebuilt bigger than before. Not because it was safe, but because he refused to let Billund disappear into the wind. Then came the Great Depression. Houses weren't being built. Doors weren't being ordered. Bills weren't being paid. Ole had workers depending on him, families depending on him. So he did something unexpected. He began crafting small wooden toys. They were simple, durable, and beautiful. Locals mocked him. A grown man making toys for children. You'll never survive. But Ole believed that play and fun was a serious business. In 1934, he held a contest to name the new toy company. He chose a short word: Lego. It was not only a simple idea, but a philosophy and a promise. He hung a sign in the workshop: only the best is good enough. It wasn't marketing. It was his identity.
Oh God, not again.
In 1942, Ole faced another fire. This time it was bigger, more devastating. Every blueprint, every toy, every dream he had turned into smoke. But he had built himself for hardship. And once more, he rebuilt the factory, stronger than the two previous ones. In 1947, at the worst economic moment, Ole made the riskiest choice of his life. He spent more than twice the company's annual profits on a strange new machine, one that worked not with wood, but with plastic. Retailers hated plastic. Parents distrusted it. But Ole saw something they didn't: precision, repeatability, and possibilities. Endless possibilities. Only 2 years later, in 1949, Lego released the first plastic bricks of its history. They didn't click. They weren't perfect. But they were the beginning. The idea was good, but Ole and his team faced setbacks while designing the bricks that had cemented Lego's identity through the years. The plastic bricks didn't grip. This was a major problem for a building set because buildings collapsed. Towers fell in front of their eyes. Apparently, Lego wasn't created to build. And then, in 1958, everything changed.
Unlike 20 years ago, Lego today allows us to build many more things because they have released more realistic colors and shapes. In the past, the pieces were mostly square. Today, there is a much wider variety of shapes, including more rounded elements, which allow us to create more ergonomic forms, ones that more closely resemble the kinds of buildings and structures we see in everyday life.
Engineers at Lego perfected a simple but ingenious solution: hollow tubes inside the brick. Paired with the studs on top, the geometry created what Lego calls clutch power. Not too tight, not too loose, just perfect. This was not just an adjustment or improvement. It was the birth of what we know today as a Lego brick. The brick that, today, can still be used with the modern ones. The brick that was the foundation of a company that still makes history today. That same year, Lego filed the patent. They had something worth protecting, and Ole knew that sooner or later it would be replicated. It was January the 28th, 1958, when the patent was filed. Later that year, Ole Kirk Christiansen passed away. And sadly, he never lived to see how far his brick would travel. After his father died, Gottfried Kirk Christiansen stepped in. He wasn't inheriting the company, he was inheriting a philosophy, one he had been raised with. His father wasn't around anymore, but the original spirit of Lego lived on in the second Christiansen generation. But he also had something to add. Gottfried believed Lego should be more than toys. It should be a system. A system where every piece connected with every other piece, across every set. This created a language of creativity and possibilities, and this single idea changed everything. Suddenly, Lego wasn't a collection of toys, but an entire universe. The company began to grow far beyond its original frontiers. During the 1960s and 70s, Lego expanded across Europe, Germany, Sweden, the UK. Billund, once a small village, became a global hub of play. Lego then built its own airport, factories, and distribution centers.
In the world of construction toys, we know that Lego isn't the only brand around. What Lego provides is a quality product. Maybe one part is wrong for every 10,000 or 100,000 items, and if you are missing an item from a box, or if it is faulty, the company's after-sales service will not question the fact that you are missing a part.
And then, the magic happened. Lego introduced something no toy company had done at scale: fully themed worlds. Space, town, castles. Children weren't just building structures anymore. They were building stories. In 1978, LEGO released its most iconic invention since the brick, the minifigure. It had a simple face, hands shaped like a C, and feet made to stand on studs. A tiny character that let kids project themselves into entire universes. Stories now had heroes, and LEGO had a heartbeat. In the late 1970s, LEGO was already run by the third Christiansen generation. Ole's grandson, Kjeld, began shaping the company into the global powerhouse we know today. He did so by creating more sophisticated lines, bringing in new universes. Technic brought mechanics, pirates brought adventure, and trains brought motion. By the late 20th century, the global toy market was becoming massive. Tens of billions of dollars a year worth. The United States spent more on toys than any country on Earth, and China produced most of them, nearly 3/4 of the world's total. In this booming landscape, LEGO wasn't just another toy, it was the toy. By the late 1990s, LEGO was flying high. It had become one of the most admired companies in Europe, a creative powerhouse built on the philosophy of imagination and creation.
We're not focused only on childhood, but on something that has quite literally built us, pun intended, shaping our personalities through LEGO from an early age. Those memories became a foundation we've kept building on over time. That's why exhibitions like this bring us straight back to childhood. The audience here is very diverse, but once people walk in, they all become the boy or girl they once were.
But it's not all gold that glitters. Under the surface, something dangerous was creeping in. The toy market was changing fast. Children were spending more and more time with video games and early computer entertainment. Sony's PlayStation, Nintendo and Hasbro's electronic toys were capturing attention. And LEGO, determined not to fall behind, expanded too far, too fast. Throughout the 1990s, LEGO began introducing thousands of completely new pieces, specialized parts that not only worked in one set. A single year could bring more than 350 new designs, each of them costing tens of thousands of dollars in steel, machining, and precision engineering. In 2002, LEGO had more than 12,000 active elements. The system of play, once simple and universal, was becoming chaotic and difficult to follow. LEGO also tried becoming a lifestyle brand. New ventures appeared everywhere: clothing lines, theme parks, home goods, cartoon series, even watches and sneakers. But these projects drained resources without reinforcing the core product, the brick. And between 1999 and 2003, LEGO's sales collapsed. During these years, the company went from double-digit growth to struggling, and by 2003, the company was losing the equivalent of $1 million a day. In a global toy market, still worth more than $70 billion at the time, LEGO, once the king of the toy box, was only a few steps away from bankruptcy. Times were dark, but a spark of genius appeared. In 1999, LEGO signed its first ever licensing deal with no other than Lucasfilm. The timing was perfect. Star Wars Episode I was about to hit theaters. Hype was global, and the first LEGO Star Wars sets were instant hits. Not just with children, with adults. Collectors lined up to buy the X-Wing, the Snowspeeder, or the first Millennium Falcon. For the first time in LEGO's history, adults, including those in their 30s and 40s, were buying sets for themselves.
The adult fan of LEGO community is getting bigger. This is because LEGO is not the same as it was 20 or 30 years ago. Before, LEGO was only seen as a toy to play with when it was cold and you were indoors. Today, LEGO is much more than a toy. It's used to create logos, to design dynamic group activities, and it also represents a shift in how we see it. Years ago, if you said you played with Lego or built Lego, you almost had to explain yourself that you were at home, playing with little figures, making up battles. What we do today is different. We come together as a community of adults, and Lego has recognized that. That's why more and more products are now designed specifically for adults, more complex to build, and also more expensive.
This kidult demographic would later become one of Lego's most profitable segments. More licenses followed: Harry Potter, Spider-Man, Batman, Indiana Jones, and later the newest Marvel Cinematic Universe. Even though Lego learned that storytelling sells, in 2004 losses were mounting and survival was uncertain. And then, the company made a radical decision. For the first time in its history, the company appointed a CEO from outside the Christiansen family, Jürgen Vig Knudstorp, a 35-year-old former McKinsey consultant. He was calm, precise, analytical, and brutally honest. His diagnosis was simple: Lego had forgotten what made it Lego. Knudstorp cut the number of unique elements by nearly 50%. He sold off the theme parks. He shut down unprofitable production facilities. He centralized supply chains, standardized materials, and brought back discipline to the system. But more important, he put the brick back at the center of the company. This turnaround didn't happen in isolation. The global toy industry was undergoing a seismic change. China was producing nearly 75% of the world's toys, being the largest manufacturing consolidation in toy history. Meanwhile, the United States had become the single largest consumer, responsible for nearly 1/3 of the global toy spending. By 2005, the toy market was worth close to $80 billion, but it was brutally competitive as well. Seasonality was extreme. Nearly half of the annual toy sales occurred in just 3 months, from October to December. Companies lived or died by Christmas. Mattel was battling declining Barbie sales. Hasbro was betting its future on Transformers and board game reinventions. Electronics were eating market share across every age group. In this scenario, Lego rebuilt and refocused, and then began rising above all of them. Between 2008 and 2015, Lego entered a new era, a renaissance driven by design, storytelling, digital engagement, and adult passion. The company launched the Ultimate Collector Series, producing the largest, most detailed models in toy history. Lego architecture brought landmarks to coffee tables. Modular buildings turned living rooms into miniature cities, and adults were no longer hiding their Lego hobby, but embracing it.
My story with Lego began in the early 90s when I was a small child. I started playing, but then I stopped for a while. This is what most of us want to do when we are teenagers, to do other hobbies and spend less time playing with Lego. After that, when I was in my early 20s, I started collecting Lego. I met people from the Valencian community and founded Valbrek. That eventually led me to a television show where I took part and won. From there, companies began approaching me to develop projects. At first, this hadn't even occurred to me. But I started to see a growing demand, whether it was building a corporate kit, like a transport company's truck, or even a company's logistics headquarters. This market opened up a professional path for me. It supports me financially, but more importantly, it's deeply rewarding. Many of these projects challenge me to build things I would never choose on my own. But once a challenge is set, build this, my mind immediately starts collecting ideas, figuring out how to shape them and bring the project to life in the best possible way.
the adult fans of Lego skyrocketed. Forums, conventions, fan events, engineering clubs, a global movement emerged. By 2014, adults accounted for nearly 1/3 of Lego sales.
To anyone who thinks Lego is only for children, I'd say, come and see the exhibition. See what we're capable of creating with Lego pieces and how imagination develops in both children and adults. Children work within certain limits and see things differently, but adults, with a wider range of colors, shapes, and ways to use the pieces, can explore just how much is possible.
It was a radical shift in the economics of play, and then came the cultural explosion. In 2014, the Lego movie shattered expectations, earning nearly $500 million at the box office. What started as a toy was now pop culture. By the mid-2010s, Lego was the world's most valuable toy company, even surpassing Mattel, Hasbro, and every other competitor. The brick that started it all was no longer just a product. It was a global icon. The Lego Group stands today as one of the most efficient, profitable, and culturally influential toy companies on Earth. Its factories run with near-perfect precision. Its design teams develop thousands of prototypes each year. Its supply chain delivers billions of bricks that must all fit together flawlessly across decades. In a global toy market worth roughly $120 billion a year, Lego commands nearly 9% of all worldwide toy sales. No other toy brand, not Barbie, not Marvel figures, not Nintendo merchandise, maintains such consistency across continents, genders, and generations. And unlike most toy companies that outsource manufacturing, Lego controls a significant portion of its own production, with major hubs in Denmark, Hungary, Mexico, China, and the Czech Republic. This vertical integration reduces risk, stabilizes quality, and protects one of the most important values in the company's DNA: precision. Every Lego brick must be manufactured with tolerances thinner than a strand of hair. If the clutch is too tight, the model breaks. If it's too loose, towers collapse. Across billions of pieces, perfection is not an ambition. It is an engineering reality for Lego. This level of detail gives the company one of the highest brand trust ratings in the world. Parents know the bricks will last. Adults know the sets will impress. Collectors know the investment will hold value. The modern toy market is a machine of impulse, tradition, celebration, and nostalgia. In 2025, global spending on toys approaches $120 billion, nearly double what it was 2 decades earlier. The United States remains the world's largest consumer, accounting for roughly 1/3 of global sales. A typical American household with children may spend $300 to $400 per child per year on toys. This is more than 5 times the global average. Europe forms the second largest bloc, with strong purchasing power in Germany, the United Kingdom, and France. Asia-Pacific is rapidly growing, especially in China, South Korea, and Japan, driven by rising middle classes and urban lifestyles. But the most important shift of the last decade is not geographic, it is demographic. Adults, once considered irrelevant to the toy industry, are now one of the most powerful forces. This growing segment, commonly called the kidult market, now represents between 25% and 30% of all toy purchases worldwide. Adults buy toys for nostalgia, for stress relief, for display, for identity. Lego is the undisputed champion of this movement.
Unlike other hobbies, Lego gives me a sense of calm. It lets me take ideas from my mind, bring them to life, think them through, and simply enjoy the process. Right now, I'm trying to instill that in my son, to enjoy himself, to learn, to see colors and shapes, and to understand that with imagination, anything is possible.
Its premium sets, Technic hypercars, Star Wars Ultimate Collector Series, iconic landmarks, regularly exceed prices of $300, $500, even $800. They sell out within hours. They hold aftermarket values like fine collectibles. This adult segment has reshaped the entire financial landscape of the company. It provides stability when children's trends shift. It creates recurring revenue from loyal fans. And it strengthens LEGO's position as a cross-generational brand, something few toy companies have ever achieved. Seasonality still dictates much of the global toy market. Every year, nearly half of all toy sales occur between October and December. Companies live or die by holiday forecasting, inventory strategy, and shipment timing. But LEGO has become the exception. Adult collectors buy year-round. Digital experiences drive sales outside the holiday season. Licensed launches create anticipation even in slow quarters. LEGO has effectively freed itself, or at least partially, from the seasonal dependency that has defined the toy industry for over a century. The brick is physical, tangible, mechanical. But LEGO's success in the 21st century extends into digital worlds. Star Wars, Batman, Marvel. These games defined an entire generation of family-friendly titles. They sold tens of millions of copies. They introduced humor, storytelling, and simplicity to a medium often dominated by complexity. For many children born after the year 2000, LEGO was not discovered in a toy box, but on a screen. The cinematic leap came in 2014, when the LEGO Movie premiered to global acclaim. It earned nearly $500 million. Most importantly, it reframed LEGO as a cultural idea, not a product. The film taught a global audience that creativity matters, that imperfection is beautiful, that building and rebuilding are not failures, they are the process of play. LEGO Batman expanded the concept. LEGO Ninjago created an entirely new generation of fans. And LEGO Masters on television turned building into a competitive art form. The brand had moved beyond toys, beyond stories, beyond bricks. It had become part of a cultural grammar of the 21st century. Long before STEM became a global movement, LEGO was already teaching children how to think like engineers. In the 1990s, LEGO Mindstorms introduced programmable robotics to students around the world. Later sets, WeDo, Spike Prime, Boost, brought coding, sensors, and motors into classrooms and homes. Today, LEGO Education works with governments, schools, and universities to bring hands-on learning to millions of students. The philosophy is simple: children learn best through play. This approach shapes future engineers, designers, and problem solvers. It helps children experiment in ways that textbooks cannot. And it continues Ole Kirk's belief that play is not a distraction from learning, but the foundation of it. In a world increasingly focused on sustainability...
From my experience, what makes LEGO different from other construction toys is its growing commitment to inclusion. In recent years, LEGO has actively embraced people with different abilities, for example, by including figures in wheelchairs and releasing sets in Braille. These are things most other brands simply don't offer, but LEGO does. In addition, LEGO is strongly committed to the environment. They're producing more and more pieces using recycled plastic and replacing plastic packaging with paper to reduce waste, something other brands simply don't do.
LEGO faces a unique challenge. Its bricks are made to last forever, a blessing for creativity, but a concern in an era of plastic waste. In response, LEGO has invested hundreds of millions of dollars into developing more sustainable materials. Plant-based polyethylene is already used for leaves and trees. Recycled PET prototypes continue to advance. Recycled PET prototypes continue to advance. New polymer engineering aims to create bricks as durable as ABS, without the environmental cost. This transition is not simple. A LEGO brick must interlock with perfect precision. A fraction of a millimeter can make the difference between wonder and frustration. But the mission is clear. A toy that lasts forever should also protect the world it is played in. Play is not a luxury. Play is exploration. Play is curiosity. Play is the earliest form of human creativity. From wooden ducks in a small Danish workshop, to interlocking bricks that span generations, to movies, video games, robotics, and global fan communities, LEGO has remained loyal to a simple truth. When we build, we grow. When we imagine, we expand. When we play, we become more human. More than a century ago, a carpenter rebuilt his workshop after a fire. He rebuilt it again after another. Not because it was easy, but because he believed in the power of making things and in the power of play. Today, billions of creations have risen from that belief. Cities, castles, spaceships. Dreams that exist nowhere else but in the minds of the people who build them. LEGO is not perfect. It has faced crises, challenges, and impossible decisions. But it endures. Through war, through technological revolutions, through economic storms. Because imagination always endures. And as long as there are hands reaching for bricks, as long as there are minds ready to create, the legacy of Ole Kirk Christiansen will continue. Every dream starts with a single piece.